Hello there and welcome back to my channel. And welcome if you're new to my channel. I needed a new pot for my bonsai tree, so I am making one myself. Because of the cold Finnish winter, it's really important that I use stoneware clay because it's hardy and I can actually have it outside all year around, as long as I dig it down in the ground for the winter. I start by rolling out a slab and then I start making the walls to my pot. Now I don't want this pot to be really symmetrical and perfect in all the angles, so this is more a hand-built freeform bonsai pot. And I also want the glazing to be a little bit rough. To get even wall thickness, I use 2 sticks when I roll it out. This way I know that the walls will be absolutely the same thickness all the way around. I use a piece of wood, you can have a ruler if you have one, and just a metal stick to cut through the clay. I use my metal stick to measure the height. This way I know the wall will be the same height all the way through. And then I just cut straight through it with my metal stick again. This is the wall. I turn the wall and then I need to put some slip on it. So I score and slip, and this is something you have to do all the time when you attach the things together. Now my chipboard board is a little bit too short, so I actually have to make the wall in 2 different pieces and attach them together. I adjust the piece I have, and now I need to make a little bit more to fit the wall. The good thing when you use a chipboard board or a plywood board is when you cut through the clay, you will see the tracks on the board. So I don't need to measure again, I just follow the old tracks that I can still see in the board. So I just cut and I have a perfect wall. Now I just cut the piece and put some slip again on all the pieces that are going to be attached. You can see I have a piece of plastic underneath, and you will actually need a few boards and a few pieces of plastic when you make a bonsai pot like this. I cut through the already finished wall and the new piece, so I know that they will fit exactly. And then, of course, a little bit slip on all the pieces. In Finland, because of the long cold winter, I always have to make everything in stoneware clay and use a high temperature when I burn it. Otherwise it will crack. And bonsais in Finland is really hard. The only trees that will survive is native trees. So this pot is probably going to be a pine tree pot, and I have to use a Finnish pine. The soil mixture that I use is no mixture at all. I just go out in the woods, find a great place where the pines thrive, and then I just dig out a little bit of the soil they thrive in. Now I put a little bit of clay where the attachment between the bottom and the wall is, to secure it so that it will not crack. I use a little bit of a tool and carefully go all around the bonsai pot. I cut away the excess material. I try to get it as close as possible to the wall, and then with a tool I finish it up and take away the extra material. If I would like to make something for lasagna or mac and cheese, this would be perfect if I just finish it up like this, because stoneware is also oven safe, so I could actually use it for that. Now I start making the outside, because the inside is now clear, and I go through the whole bonsai pot again. Next up is the rim to the bonsai pot. Instead of rolling, I just use my hand to try to get a long piece that is about the same thickness all the way. And again, I use a long wooden stick to get a straight line and cut. I attach the rim again. Remember, the slip should always be made of the same clay as you use. Raku clay or stoneware clay are really good for this because they will not crack easily and it's really elastic. So when you build, you can build with big, long pieces of clay without it cracking. When I attach the rim, it's really important that I don't attach it at the same spot as I attach the pieces of the wall. This way it will be really hardy. With a tool, I again take away all the cracks and see to it that it actually sticks really well. I smoothen out all the flaws and try to make it as beautiful as possible. With an old straw, I just make some ornaments on the rim. And after this, it's time to let the pot dry for about 2 hours. Meanwhile, I make the legs. So I use 2 sticks and a roller to get it the same thickness all the way. I cut through, and then just by cutting by hand, I make the shape that I want for the legs. I cut 2 at a time, and then I cut the rest too by using one as a model. When I'm done with the legs, I put them inside of the bonsai pot and let it dry for about 2 or 3 hours. Then they will dry the same speed. It's now time to turn the whole pot around, and I use a piece of cardboard and these plastic bags filled with polystyrene from an old sacco sack, a chair. I put again a piece of plastic and a chipboard board on top, turn it around, and it's now time to actually attach the legs. If you look really closely, you can see that I already made some holes in my bonsai pot. These are for the extra water, because when it's outside and it rains really much, you need to have some drainage holes for your bonsai pot. And also to attach the tree to the pot with a wire. Now it's time to figure out where to put the legs. So I try them out, and when I'm happy, I just glue them together. The pot and the legs have been drying for a while, so I need to put a little bit more slip to a few places. I push and press a little bit, and after that it's time to do the finishing. So I use this silicone tip brush and a little bit of slip to put more where it's needed, and then I use a normal brush to smoothen it out. Now after this, the bonsai pot is almost done. Now again, old women's socks filled with polystyrene, just to take off a little bit of the weight of the bonsai pot. Now in the beginning, I try out with a piece of wood, and then of course I need to put some plastic in between. It's time to turn it around again, because I want this bonsai pot to dry standing. This way I know that the legs will not be wiggly. So I take away the polystyrene and cover it up with plastic for a week or two until it's totally dry, and then it's time to bisque fire the whole thing. This is the bisque fired pot, and I want to put some green glazing with some effects on it. I use, of course, stoneware glaze, and I start by just brushing the bottom, and it's important that I put it really close to the edges between the wall and the bottom. After this, I pour on the sides, and as I said in the beginning, I want it a little bit rough, so it's not that important that it's really the same thickness all the way with this glazing. I just pour, and I see to it that I have glazing on all the sides and the legs. The outside is the most important, and of course the rim, but the inside isn't that important because a tree and some soil will of course be in the pot, so you will not see how the glazing is on the inside. When I'm happy with the pouring, I roll the pot so that I know that even the rim will get some glazing on it. Now, I said this would take about 2 weeks to dry. It actually took a little bit longer, but I got my bonsai pot ready just in time for the Finnish spring. Just the last finishing, and this is kind of messy, so after this I need to put a little bit more glaze with the brush to the spots that I missed. The last thing I do before I put it in the kiln is to clean the legs so it won't stick to the kiln. Outside is spring and it's April, so it's time for me to put the pot in the kiln and to dig out my other bonsais in my garden. It's still ice on the ground, but my bonsai pots and my bonsais have survived the winter. This tree has been outside for 15 years. Now, this is my finished bonsai pot. I put a little bit of mesh inside the pot to keep the soil in place, and I use wire. And I also use a piece of wire to attach the tree to the pot. This way the wind won't disturb the root. After this, it's time to fill the soil into the pot and to cut the tree and wire the tree so it will look like a real bonsai. Now, my bonsai is not really the right shape yet. It takes a few years to figure out what it will look like, but I'm really happy with the color of the pot and the color matching the tree. I hope you enjoyed my video and that you might also make your own bonsai pot. If you liked my video, please remember to subscribe, and if you have any comments or questions, please ask them or comment. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.